integrity. That's called courage.
Free up your mind, use your imagination.
All you need to know is I'll get you there.
Learning.
Now that's the stuff leaders should be made of.
Welcome to the Open House podcast. Our guests are our students, opinionated, daring, and ridiculously smart. They ask tough questions about life and about learning. This podcast is by them and for them.
For the 13th episode of the Open House podcast. This is a really special one. It's also very timely. Since March last year, there has been absolute chaos in the world of education and exams. Exams have gotten cancelled, postponed, they've been conducted online and conducted live, and we've seen every possible variation and every possibility. Right now, India is going through a very serious second wave of coronavirus cases. There is someone down with coronavirus in almost everyone's family, and our healthcare system is really stretched thin. In light of this, CBSE did cancel board exams for class 10, and other boards, some still have to announce their decision. The question that we are asking today in this episode is, do we even need exams in the first place? And we have two students with us to really dissect this question and answer this for us. Vedant Singh is 17 years old, and in his own words, he says he's told that he's creative, but after 14 years in the Indian education system, the bar isn't that high. Navya Jain is a 15-year-old feminist, writer, and music enthusiast. She strives to make a change in society, even if it's a small one. Both Navya and Vedant are open house students. They are a part of our clubs. I want to get into my first question actually is that how important are exams when there is a pandemic raging and people are under a lot of physical, emotional, and mental stress?
So the sole purpose of an examination is to check the competency of a student and to create a hierarchy in the fields which they are interested in. Now, in surviving a pandemic with your mental and physical health intact is also an examination itself. I have failed that because of my relationship with crippling anxiety and perpetual existential crisis, but there's hope for someone else too, so fingers crossed. But just to reiterate the question, are exams really important in a pandemic? Yes, absolutely. But is going to a center with your masks on, with your hall tickets, with your bottles, with your pens and everything, is that important? I don't think so. That's like playing Russian roulette with COVID. You don't want that. The thing is that everyone is scared and under a lot of stress. And for many students, exams aren't even priority right now for various reasons. And that's acceptable. But the thing is that we need to adapt. Even a pandemic can't stop the fast-paced functioning of our society. And we can't use it as an excuse to shy away from our exams.
Right. Navya, I know you have a different opinion altogether, and I really want to hear from you as well.
So honestly, even when things were normal, there is this one subconscious mantra that we keep repeating in our heads over and over again as students, and that's let's take a break from mental health and let's focus on school and studies for a while. So obviously that's a really, really toxic, thought in our head that has to be removed. But that's just how it is. So, and during exam seasons, there is no such thing as mental health. Okay, it's just textbooks, and then more textbooks. So, as now thousands and thousands of people are dying every single day, and people are getting depression, and there is a lack of medical supplies, and everything is going haywire. But no, exams have to be conducted. Okay, and I really don't see the point to it at all. Not everyone is as privileged as us to sit at home in front of our computers and laptops, and that also is not happening half the time, and eat food in the middle of classes and pretend that our internet is fluctuating or is unstable for God knows what reasons, and exams on top of all of that. I think it's really pointless.
Okay. So this actually decision to cancel like class 10 board exams, do you think that was the right call or not? What is your thought about that?
I for one have mixed feelings about the thing, because I do have friends from who would agree and disagree with me, but I know a few people who actually went ahead and studied. I have a friend who texted me saying that, oh my god, the exams are cancelled. What have I been doing for the whole year? Because I know people who prepared so well for their boards but just decided to let their internals go away. So for them, the cancellation of the boards is a pretty huge deal. But for the ones who assume that, okay, it's the pandemic, like we'll get through it, and those people who actually came and texted me saying that the exams are over finally, and they have been cancelled, I'm assuming they were backbenchers not preparing at all in the first place and just decided to just go with the wind.
Yeah. What about you, Vedant?
I mean, I'm in the 12th and my board is CISC and they have put me in a perpetual limbo because they have to announce their decision on June 1st. So I don't have anything to do right now. And as for the mixed feelings, um, none of my friends have studied for the board exam, so I can't say. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. So
Yeah.
everybody's quite happy, but in the end, that we are not scared about studying for the exams or not. We are more concerned about what our college applications will look like if the board exams get cancelled. Because let's be honest, the easiest exam in the world or in my life is the board exam. So that's that's quite easy to score good marks in. And as compared to our school examinations, of course we had online examinations, and that's like Google was there. But uh, apart from that, the school examinations, the level of it are quite high as compared to the board examinations, and so there is a drop of marks. And if that is taken into consideration, then the average ranking of an above average student in a highly competitive school might be quite lower than something as compared to a lower competitive school. So that's what concerns us, not that we have to study or not.
Right. Vedant, you mentioned like a bunch of things here, and I want to like go over them one by one. One is, of course, I mean, you guys did give online exams last year, and possibly now you may give online exams this year as well. What is that experience like? First of all, is it easier? Is it more difficult? And Navya, you had mentioned earlier about like privilege, and I want to talk a little bit about that also, because online exams are not on equal ground for everybody. Um, but yeah, what is giving online exams like?
So for me, I mean, for 14 years, okay, I have written my examinations with sweat, with school pants, and with a high tension and looking around right and left. And now suddenly I'm sitting in my room with the AC switched on. I'm not even wearing my school pants. I'm not even wearing shoes, and I'm asked to write a paper. And the the atmosphere is completely changed, and I don't feel stressed at all. And I feel that for me at least, that's a bad thing, because I like the stress that happens in the examination hall, not the stress that happens in the home and all. But really like brings the best out of me, and I miss that. So in all circumstances, I'd pick real life examinations over online examinations.
I'd actually agree with you on the having to like stress, because that stress was what kept me grounded and got me studying, because otherwise I wouldn't even bother studying, because I know it's all online, so somewhere I'll do jugaad and figure it out. But then when it's all in school, you know that you're sitting there, you are being stared at by the teacher and being eyed at by your students and seeing how many extra sheets you take, and it's that the whole stress is there. But then when you're at home, it's just like half the time the internet isn't working, and then there is the whole stress about submitting your paper, the teacher staring at you from the screen, adjusting your camera so that your paper is seen along with you, and it's all just so intricate that I don't even see why they had to do it in the first place.
Yeah, it's almost as if, hey, if they don't trust you, then why do it at all? Even without a pandemic, I mean, like you guys said, giving exams can be very, very stressful. What is your like? What have been some interesting, funny stories? Are you the kind of students who are always prepared, or are you the one pulling an all-nighter? What are you guys like during exam season?
For me, there hasn't been a single exam where I have slept for more than 4 hours. There is no okay. And for exams like math and Hindi and English, I won't even touch my books before one day before the exam. And for maths, I'll be like, okay, let's prepare a little bit, and I won't be able to sleep before 1 or 2. And social science is on a whole new level. It's like for social, I'd be lucky if I got 3 to 4 hours of sleep before the exam. That was also too less. And after the whole complete syllabus rule that came about a few years back, it's become so much more worse because I'm already so overwhelmed by the number of chapters that I have to complete. And not to mention that the chapters are humongous, they're huge. And then in the end, I just end up mugging up the whole thing and pray to God that the questions that I leave out don't come in the exam. And that never happens. And the fact that our society basically judges a person only based on their marks and those numbers. And on the outside, I know a few people who will be like, oh, beta, it's only marks, they don't matter. And then they'll be the ones who will go back to their houses. They'll tell their children that if you are not the topper, you're out. That's how it is. And I mean, for them, it's like there's no other future but getting good grades. And thankfully, my parents are the ones who put a lot of pressure on me for getting good marks. Unless and until I'm putting my effort into studying, they don't care what my outcome is. And as for the exam pressure, so many kids end up taking hasty measures like suicide or slip into depression. And all for what? A few numbers that you're not even going to care about in a few years.
What do you have to add to that? Vedant, what are like your stories? And yeah, what is the approach to exams in your house?
Okay, so when I was in 9th, my parents told me, beta, do 10th, your life will be sorted. I'm like, wow, okay, fine. I'll study. I started studying really hard. I grinded out a great result, and the sweets were distributed and everything like that. So then I asked my parents, is my life sorted? So they said, beta, do 12th and then your life will be sorted. I'm like, okay, okay, I'll do it. So I start doing it. Now it has come to this that I'm yet to give my entrance exam and my board exams, and they are starting to tell me, beta, do graduation, then your life will be sorted. I told this thing to my friend and he sent me a poem. Roses are red, violets are blue. This isn't going to rhyme, but your life will never be sorted. And I'm like, okay, then. So the one thing I've concluded is that the sorting of life is an illusion. So I learned to embrace the pressure surrounding the exams, because the pressure will always be there regardless of the exams. There will be jobs, there will be interviews, there will be management of relationships and all that. So the best thing I could do was to keep my head down and keep doing my work. That's all. I mean, the stress of exams are good, actually, minus the sleepless nights when you overthink your McDonald's job interview in case you fail your exams. That's that happens. I mean, I know I'm not the only one. But on a serious note, what I have done is normalized failing for myself. I'll accept failure if I can see that students are better than me. Then there's nothing left to do other than to tip my hat and congratulate them. I can't do anything else. But I will not accept the fact that there are students who want it more than me, because that's the desire. The desire to succeed is the best thing that you can have, and I'm trying to inculcate that in my personality. So if I can do that properly, then I'm bound to succeed in an examination. And
Yeah.
just to add on the final point, I'm like, parents treat exams like it's the pinnacle of your life. Like, as I said, if you do this, your life will be sorted. But if you peak your life at 17 or 18 years of age, then what are you going to do for the rest of your life? Like, you will be clueless about it. So, yeah.
No, Vedant, I can definitely vouch for the fact that your life is never going to be sorted. You can study really, really hard and score really well and go to an amazing college. And your life will still not be sorted. I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm very happy with where I am today, but I think there are moments that you're just like, what's going on and what am I doing with my life? And everything is confusing. So I don't think that will ever change. But you guys mentioned something like very interesting, that hey, there is one school of people who keep saying marks don't matter, and sometimes open house also, we don't say marks don't matter, but we say no, don't study for marks. Like, study because you enjoy it and study because you like love the subject. People in general saying that marks don't matter, how does that make you feel? Is it something that people just say like as a token thing and actually don't believe that?
In the end of the day, we all know marks matter, because that's how, we've been told that marks matter, from the day we started giving exams. So even if they come and tell us ki nahi, marks don't matter and all, they're just numbers, we know that they do. Because in the end of the day, if we get less marks, then they're gonna give us that lecture ki nahi, you didn't study, you didn't do this, you didn't work hard enough. So we all know that marks do matter. I don't really agree with the whole fact that there are people who genuinely mean that marks don't matter. Because in the end of the day, they'll blame you, they'll blame your environment, they'll blame the distractions you've been having. So I don't really.
So you don't take that seriously. When people say marks don't matter, you don't take that seriously.
Nah, never.
Yeah. What about you, Vedant?
For me, I'm in agreement with Navya on this one. I'm like, marks really matters. The colleges will look at your marks and not what Sharma auntie said at your 14th birthday. So it will matter and it will always matter. That there's nothing you can do about it. Even if you score less marks, you'll have to learn to live with it. It's not like you can make reasons for it, like, oh, the environment was wrong, the atmosphere was wrong. But in the end, it's going to reflect that you scored 40% in an exam rather than you could have scored 90%. So that's the end of it.
At this point, we even weigh ourselves the way we weigh our marks. Because I know that even though I tell myself, no, it's okay if you don't score 90% or 95 or 99, it's okay. But then when I'm comparing my marks with my friend's marks, I know that I've faltered somewhere, that I haven't got as much as her. So I am also weighing myself according to what's happening with my friends.
I think, we've spoken a lot about the conversation around exams, the conversation around marks and what parents say about exams. Both of you, we did ask you before coming on to this episode whether you felt like we needed exams or not. And, you did have very interesting answers. At the end of an academic year, what should students be tested on? And in the current format of exams, is that happening?
So, at the end of an academic year, the student should be tested on what they have learned throughout the year. So, in the current format of examinations, it's not happening. Most state boards have released question banks. Like, these are the 120 questions you memorize, you'll score 100%. If I did not pay attention the entire semester, I bunked classes, I made fun of the teachers, and I did everything that I was not supposed to do, I can still score good marks if I just memorize those question banks. What's the achievement in that? If the world ran on rote learning and stuff like that, then I'd say it's a brilliant idea. But sadly it's not. So I mean, the national boards also aren't quite good, because you can solve the past 10 years papers and you can score good marks. They never change the pattern, they never change the questions, they never change anything. Why? Because they are easy to correct. I mean, okay, sure, they might be easy to correct, but the worst thing that you can introduce in an exam is monotonicity and predictability. And those are the two driving forces of our national boards. So, like, that's pretty bad.
No, what you said actually reminded me of the time I was giving my 12th board exams. I was a science student, and my physics teacher told me कि every year there are four question papers there are four sets. So he said that for the last 4 years before this, take those four papers, solve those 16 papers, and you will be fine, because at the end of the day, like, they will change the numerical value or they will change a few things here and there. But if you solve those 16 papers, then you've got it. And that is what I did actually. It did work out pretty well. I did score well in my physics board exam. But it just goes to reflect that there is predictability in the way exams are being conducted. Navya, what do you have to say about this?
I think the majority of the problem comes when there are like huge exams that decide our fate. Those are the midterms and the finals. And in the middle, there are a lot of exams depending on which school you're going to. So, see, these exams aren't really testing what we've learned. They actually just see how much we've memorized and how well our brain can keep the stuff we've learned. And they shouldn't actually be testing on this, but actually figuring out what our intellectual capabilities are, what our reasoning is, what our problem solving skills are like, and stuff like that, and not whether Jahangir came first or Shah Jahan came first, because I do not care. and I'm sure I'm not the only one saying this, but as soon as I'm done writing my exam, I go to the hallway and it's all gone, it's all blank. Like, it's just that I learn everything up, until it's up till my brain, and then I vomit everything on the paper and it's gone. And we're literally forced to sit and write a 3-hour long paper and not allowed to use the washrooms. And for the kids who are actually really smart but falter in the exams because of, I don't know, stress or because they're nervous, I mean, it happens to the best of us. And for them, exams are literal hell.
So obviously, I mean, the answer to the question, like, I think whether exams are testing students properly is no. Both of you did say that. What is the alternative? What is a better way of testing students? And there is no right or wrong answer, and there is no idea that is like crazy. Please, like, I want the impossible to be talked about here, to be very honest. Like, what is a better way of testing students?
So I really think they should scrape the whole fate deciding exams completely. Like, we don't need the midterms, the finals, the periodic tests and whatnot. We have like 5 exams in a year, and it's so pointless because we're studying the whole year. And then instead there should be like I know a few people are going to kill me for saying this, but there should be small tests after every chapter. Like, we don't need them to be huge texts that define what a report card is going to look like, but just tests that know that we are paying attention and that we know what's happening in class. Because if we don't have them, then I don't think even I would pay attention. Like, what's the point? And also, these are enough to, they're less stressful, and also they're enough to figure out how much our understanding is of the chapter. And also, we should have, I mentioned this before, but we should have like hands-on activities that will figure out the same. I mean, I don't remember the last time we actually had activities in school that weren't, graded or weren't putting random stuff into other things. I know one thing that I really enjoyed in school was the dissections. I really enjoyed cutting the cow's digestive system, and it's all gross, and the girls just overreact like, oh my gosh, it's so gross, I'm gonna gag. but it was a lot of fun. I mean, at the end, it was a lot of fun. And also, even graded projects and portfolios, they would work wonders. And we don't have to tell the students they're being graded, but still. And also, the students should be able, and this one's my favorite, the students should actually be able to choose a method that they have learned, to show that they have learned throughout the year. For example, if someone likes to sing, they should be able to present their learnings in the form of a song or a poem. And if I were to do it, I would probably write an article, because that's literally what I do all day. Or I'd show a movie because I can edit. So everyone has their, strengths, and I think that's how they should be using them for good use.
I have one question for you, Navya. In this world of like tests after every chapter, and this is a very logistical question, right? Because I believe that, hey, when you've just like finished learning a chapter, that's when it's most fresh. If you give a test, then it'll like you will be able to do it pretty well. So should you be tested right after you have finished it, or should you be tested say 2-3 weeks after you've done the chapter? What do you think is the better way?
For sure, they should mix and match a little bit, because I know people who don't even listen to class when the first chapter is going on. So for them, it must be like a treat. But yeah, you're right. There should be like 2 to 3 weeks of gap.
Are unit tests as scary as an exam?
I don't think anyone cares about unit tests.
Okay. Good to know. What about you, Vedant? I think like what are some of the what are some ways in which you think students should be tested?
For starters, I don't think that we should do away with the final exams at the end of the year just yet, because they provide a sense of objectivity in our education. So we can do away with it in a few years, but not just yet. And the second thing that irks me the most is you have to study everything. Why do I have to study everything? I mean, if I can get a choice on to decide my subjects, that would be better, right? I mean, I won't have to study 4 years a subject and then decide when I want to change it. The only thing that pops into my mind is Abba nahi manenge. I mean, that shouldn't happen to me. So the thing is that students should be given the choice, but it's not like I choose commerce because my friends are doing so, or I choose science because my parents are telling me to. It should be completely my own decision. If I want to take humanities and open an NGO, I should be able to do it. That shouldn't be seen as a taboo in our society. But the fact again comes that how can we give the choice to the students? And for that, they should be taught the factors, variables other than passion. I mean, okay, you have the passion, okay, fine, you choose that, you pursue that. But passion is a condition which is continuously confused to be a sufficient condition when it is only a necessary condition. Passion will kickstart your career, but it will not sustain your career. And for that, students need to be aware about the factors that go into play behind the scenes, such as the return of investment, the placements, the jobs, the market saturation. Those things should be taught to students in order to create a well-informed choice for the students. And once we have decided on the subjects that we want to study, daily assessments combined with as Navya said, the FATE examinations, those both things, if they are combined properly, then we can have a healthy assessment of a student. Yeah.
Vedant, you have spoken like a true 12th grader who is very, and it's so natural, right? You're in 12th, you are just like figuring out what college you want to go to, what you want to study, and where that might lead you, what career it might lead you to. And one does look for guidance. I think that's very natural, and maybe schools are not able to give that right today. I think Vedant, it was you who had mentioned that life skills and creativity is something that schools don't teach. And ideally, one should be tested on life skills and creativity. But if they don't teach, then they can't test. Is what you are learning in school enough? What are some of the things that you want to learn about, and school is not like catering to it? Vedant, you've of course mentioned some things, but other than that,
First of all, the most important thing that I want to learn is the application of Pythagoras theorem. I mean, I understand that it's quite tough, but I guess some mysteries are better left unsolved. But apart from that, I'd like to learn how to do my taxes or learn about the democracy, because like I'm going to vote next year and I don't know enough about everything. Apart from that, the inculcation of critical thinking in our curriculum is a must. I mean, I'm all for reducing the syllabus in order to create space for critical thinking. And I guess that's what the new education policy is also doing. And that's a good step. Apart from that, I want to learn different languages. I won't communicate in scientific formulas and chemistry with other people. If I have different languages as my asset, then I can communicate and understand more things from other people. Apart from that, the values and the societal ethos about empathy and developing a scientific temper and curiosity in our daily lives, that should be a must. I mean, it's not like if, for example, gravity hadn't been discovered, there should be a curiosity in our students' minds that why isn't gravity discovered, or what is the driving force behind a gravitational force, and not just like, is there in a textbook I'll study before the exam. It shouldn't be like that. There should be a development every single day in order to create a healthy environment, as I have said before. And yeah, apart from that, daily life situations should also be like taught, like handling rejection and from girls and other people, like yeah. And
I like how you specified.
Yeah, so those are the things that matter in life.
Yeah.
When you grow old, like 20 years down the line, and when you are like going on a nostalgic drive, you won't think about the formulas you learned in chemistry. You'll think about what you did with your friends and what that impacted you and how that shaped you. So if we can harness that into an objective form of assessment, then I think we can like take a step forward in the assessment of students.
Navya, what about you? What are some of the things that like you want to learn? Is what you are learning and being tested on is enough?
You know how in school we've always, as you grow older, right? At least in my school, as you grow older, they'll keep reducing your extracurriculars. So when you enter in ninth, your dance and singing and all of that is reduced, and computer is gone, Sanskrit is gone, and we're made to learn those, math, science, the big important subjects. And so one thing that has always intrigued me about Western schools, and I'm talking about this because India is slowly progressing towards adapting the Western methods with the portfolios. So one thing that has always intrigued me is that we have so many options to explore. Like, I know that, this is only coming from watching all the movies that I watched, but also from my friends from a few friends that I've talked to, and they told me about them having pottery classes, theater classes, wood carving even. I didn't even know that's a thing until they told me. And the most important one that they have, that we don't, is that no one gives them any crap about these classes. And if they take it, it's completely normal. But if we end up taking arts, God forbid, we are gone. It's problematic. So the one thing that I've really wanted to learn from school is how to pay my taxes. I still don't know how the stock market works. I don't. My dad has tried to explain it to me so many times, but it doesn't get through. Then how to get a loan, how to get away from toxic friends, because that's important. How to deal with mental health issues, because no one teaches that. And I'm not gonna, in a few years when I'm old enough, I'm not gonna go to the bank and tell them that, hey, I only know how to do the tally. Please tell me how to, figure out the rest. I don't know. And then I don't know how to choose which college is best for me because we're just told to take subjects and just go with the wind. Like, just do what you do best. And if nothing works, just go ahead and take like science because everyone's doing that. And one thing that's really, really important is extracurriculars. While growing up, my teachers during parent-teacher meetings always told my parents that Navya doesn't do anything but extracurriculars. Make her stop. Okay, and I've always been into extracurriculars. I've always done skit competitions or writing competitions, or I don't know. There were a lot of competitions in my school, and they just told me not to do them and pay attention in school and studies. But I really think we should expand our horizons to more extracurriculars. Go to, I don't know, we should even be cleaning stuff. Go ahead and do cleaning programs or runs and stuff like that. And the last one, I think this is only my school thing, but we used to have this thing called CMCA, and we were really excited about it because, I mean, it's new. We get to do something for the society. And what we did was we sat in class for an hour and read a storybook about a dude cleaning the roads. And it wasn't even a mature story. It was just this cartoon dude cleaning the streets. And I think they even actually put trash on the streets purposely so we could go ahead and clean it. And it was really stupid, but we were so thankful it was over in a year.
That's quite interesting. Do you guys have any questions for each other, Navya and Vedant? No.
No, I don't really have any questions.
Okay, no
I
worries.
can totally relate to her situation. So, like,
Yeah. No, actually, that brings me to the close of this episode. I asked you guys all the questions that I wanted to ask. I think what I'm taking away is really that exams right now are a memory test, and like who has been able to just mug up the textbook, and that is not what an exam is supposed to do. That is also like not what you're supposed to end an academic year with. Let's test it out and let's see what one has actually learned. At the cost of sounding like an oldie, I also do want to say that I mean, I'm not going to say marks don't matter. I think they do. They do end up like taking you to a good college and all of that. And exams also do matter. I think when you're 15, 16, when you're about to give your board exams, it's really stressing you out that, hey, what's going to happen? But I think that's it, right? It matters for those 3, 4 months. And then it's the next thing that matters. Then it's about, hey, I'm in college. What society do I want to join? What majors do I want to choose? In the longer run, exams really like don't end up mattering that much. You do like feel really strongly about it for those couple of months, and then it's like it's old news. And I really hope that this conversation we have like spoken about some ideas as to how one can change like exams and how one can change this culture of testing students. I think that change is a few years away, but maybe this conversation is the start of that. And let's hope that there are many more conversations that we can have about this. It has been really, really nice having the two of you here. It's Monday evening and really, really fun to be talking to the two of you. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us and for sharing like your thoughts and opinions.
Thank you so much for having me.
yeah, likewise. Thank you.
All right.